Hey everyone, it's Dr. Jory and welcome to the Hybrid Health Podcast. Each week I bring in some of the best minds in health and fitness, and I utilize my 20 years experience in this field to help you live a better, healthier life. My guest today is Devin Size, personal trainer extraordinaire here in downtown Toronto at Good Life Fitness. We talk about posture improvement exercises, core strengthening and spinal stability.
Ooh.
Why people will spend money on their car but not their own health care, his journey through health, and many tips along the way to help you live a better life. That's the best term I've heard today.
Right?
While you're watching, hit that like button if you like it, smash the subscribe button, and let's go. Devin Size, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Dr. Jory.
All right, so let's start out by giving our audience an idea of what got you into this situation where you're a personal trainer here in Toronto.
Okay. Well, I've spent a lot of my life in a variety of jobs. I actually fell into personal training about 3 years ago. Back in the day, first jobs I had, I was a cook. I worked as a cook for 8 years. I then worked in a call center for 2 years. After that, I went to school for journalism. I was actually a professional journalist here in Toronto for about 6 years.
Oh, wow.
And after
Nice.
that, I kind of just realized that working in an office job, because I wasn't running around as much once I got a desk job here in Toronto, I started to kind of fall out of shape. I was eating poorly. I was stressed. I wasn't sleeping well. And I actually hired a personal trainer myself, and he kind of changed my life. His name was Josh Blake, and I still give him a lot of props for what he
Shout
did with
out,
me.
Josh.
Josh. Anyway, and so after he changed my life, I realized the positive impact he had on me, and I wasn't having a positive impact on anybody in journalism, and I wanted to have that positive impact. So we started turning our training more into an apprenticeship, and eventually I did all my certifications and became a personal trainer, and I've never looked back. It's the best job I've ever had.
Nice. Yeah, and I can tell by watching Devin out on the floor, he's so passionate about what he does, and that's what you want. You want to have a personal trainer who really loves what they're doing and
It's true.
changing people's lives.
Yeah, well, it's hard to motivate people to make changes in their lives if you don't sound like you believe in what you do for a living at the same
True.
time, the service that you're selling, right?
So were you an active kid growing up, or were you like sedentary?
So that was one of the things, and that's why I noticed that decline in my shape and my eating and that kind of stuff when I got an office job. Is as a kid, I was always into sports. I played baseball for 9 years. I was in swimming lessons for 8 years. I also played hockey for 3 years. I was a goaltender, so very physical. And again, I was a skateboarder, so I was always doing that. I was always physically active. Even in my work, I was working in the kitchen. It's 8 to 12 hours a day on your feet, just running around the kitchen all the time. And so I was always moving around, so my weight always kind of stayed the same. I ate relatively healthy, but I could eat what I want because I was very active. So that's why I noticed in my early 20s when I got the desk job, the huge decline in my health and my stress levels and those kind of things, because I was working a 9 to 5, I would go home, meal prep, take care of myself, go to bed, wake up, do the same thing again, and I wasn't being active, and that's how I noticed that I was starting to feel negative effects from my lifestyle and my bad patterns in life. And I hired somebody to help me change it, and I just realized the positive impact he had on me, and that's why I fell into what I do now.
Devin, what is your specialty as a trainer?
Well, what I love about Good Life Fitness is that we, here at 137 Yonge Street, we actually have about 30 trainers. And every one of us specializes in something completely different because our experience in the past and what we believe in and what drives our passion as personal trainers is completely different. For me personally, a couple of things are permanent lifestyle changes. But for the most important thing, I consider myself a postural anatomy specialist. I like to fix people's postures, their gait patterns, how they walk, that kind of thing. I'm sure as a chiropractor you would appreciate that. Yeah, just people just don't take their spinal health seriously. And you see a lot of people, I see a lot of people that work in desks that are executives, bankers, those type of people who are in their sometimes early 30s, early 40s, that kind of thing. It's a slow decline, right? Everything they're doing is anteriorly dominated, which means in front of them. So they're constantly on their phone, around their shoulders, then they're at their computer, then they're getting stressed out, and then the next thing you know, their eyesight starts going, so they're getting closer to the computer, and then they come see me and they're, Devin, my shoulders are tight. And I'm like, yes, they are. You are correct. And so I like to relax them, get them back into proper form with functional movements and exercises, because I just believe functional movement and normal movement patterns, structural balance is probably the most important service that I can offer a human and the best way that I can help them have an overall quality of life, longevity of pain-free life, And it's a well-known fact that most Canadians don't live over the age of 55 or 60 without some sort of physical assistance, whether it be a walker, whether it be a hip replacement, whether it be any sort of thing like that, a back brace, lumbar support on a chair, anything like that. And losing your autonomy as a human being and your independence is probably, if you talk to anybody, if you talk to your grandmother, your grandfather, any elderly people, once they start losing their independence and their lack of mobility and ability to move naturally and normally, and can't go upstairs without pain, can't go golfing without their hip or shoulder hurting, it's the worst feeling in the world to start feeling your age and limitations, and that's just what I want to prevent in people.
Solid. The posture, spinal stability stuff, a lot of people don't realize that is a segue to getting injured if you don't have that. So talking about those clients of yours that are, like this, I deal with exactly the same thing. I treat people like that all the time. And I can't tell you how many times I've had stories of people where they're like, I went over to lift up my laundry basket and then I was like, oh, my back.
Yeah.
And I don't understand because I didn't really do anything. I just picked up a really light laundry basket.
Yeah.
So,
well, one of the things that we know about people who often have repeated stress syndrome or bad posture or constantly sitting in a spinal flexion position at their desk or anything, those muscles in the back, like the quadratus lumborum, the QL, and all those muscles in the back, they can become short and facilitated. And then once any of those muscles become short and facilitated, whether it be in the upper back or the lower back, and they do a movement that is outside of the normal range of motion that they're normally in, their muscle isn't used to doing that range of motion. As we know, most muscles will kind of move in a position like this and back. When those muscles get shortened and facilitated, they only want to move in this range of motion there. So that first time that you bend over a little bit further than you normally do or something, you move it past that threshold that it's normally used to, it's gone. And then that's when you have injury, pain, and then you're into rehabilitation. As a personal trainer, I like to joke around and say that I believe in a prehabilitation, so that way we can fix the problem before it happens.
I talk about that with my clients too. We should do some prehab.
Yes.
Preventative rehab.
Yep.
Basically.
And that's one of the things that, as a personal trainer, I'll never discredit the work that any doctor does, any medical doctor, pharmacist, chiropractors at all. But we both know that doctors are in the business of fixing a problem once it's there. They will correct an injury. They will fix a syndrome. They will diagnose a medical issue. But they don't get into the business of prehabilitation because once they see their clients, it's often either right at that cusp of being too late or it's too late and you have to go into rehabilitative exercises or diets or anything that it might be. Right? Most people don't go to their doctor 20 years before they have a problem and go, my dad had a spinal issue or he had heart disease and I'm worried about that happening. What can I not do or do over the next 20 years to prevent that from happening? And we both know that that's just not a conversation people often have with doctors or themselves.
Yeah, and the strange thing about that is if you look at someone who has a car, they will do preventative maintenance on their car. Spend thousands of dollars a year on that, right?
Yeah.
And then you talk to the person about themselves, their own health. Like, are you doing anything for maintenance to keep your body? No.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Well, I just kind of wait until I get injured and then deal with it then. That's not a good way to approach it.
No, it's not. It would be the same as, so going back to the analogy that you're using of a car, not only that, but the financial investment in a car, right? People are so reluctant to invest in their health and invest in themselves that it's almost mind-boggling. I don't understand. Somebody will have no problem going and spending $25,000 on a car and then spending another $5,000 a year on insurance and then another $5,000 a year on gas and then another $5,000 a year on new tires, realignments, servicing, new battery, whatever it might cost, right? But when it comes to spending $100 to get yourself a session with a chiropractor or spending $75 an hour with me as a personal trainer, and then they go, $10,000 a year for exercise? That's crazy. I would never spend that. But you're going to go and lease a car, no problem, even though that's not going to have any return on investment in your life whatsoever. And in fact, the second you drive that car off the lot, it's going to decline. Whereas investing yourself can only improve your quality of life, improve your capacity to work better, therefore making you more money in the end, getting promoted when you have more confidence and confidence in your abilities, any of that stuff. So in all honesty, investing in yourself is probably one of the most important things you can do. And with cars, something happens to their car. They start hearing a weird noise, right? They start hearing the ball bearing in their tire going. Their axles are uncalibrated. It's squeaking. The second they hear that squeak in the car,
mechanic.
They are driving it right to the mechanic. They are taking it right to the dealership. They are getting that fixed right away because they don't like the way that sounds. But somebody, their hip starts popping while they're walking, or their calf is tight, or they're limping a little bit.
Fine.
Yeah, it just fixes itself. It's fine. There's no problem. They're not running to a personal trainer or a physiotherapist.
Months go by.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, wait, this didn't really get better. In fact, it's gotten worse, and I have some other issues.
Yeah. So taking the car analogy back, they won't come and see a personal trainer or a chiropractor until they're on the middle of the 401 and that tire pops off and their car is debilitated right in the middle of the road. Yeah, and then they're calling CAA, which, we're the physical version of CAA, basically.
That's right.
So instead of roadside assistance, it's more like bedside or desk side assistance, right?
So there's probably some viewers and some listeners out there right now who are thinking, man, he is right, and I need to help my stability, core stability.
Yes.
So if someone came to you for the first time, they're like, Devin, I like what you're talking about. What do you do with them?
Yeah. Well, I'm really glad that you brought up the core, Jory, because being a postural anatomy specialist and somebody who focuses on proper gait patterns and posture and even proper form and technique in the exercise, an often forgotten tool that we have in our body and an often misunderstood part of our body is actually the core, our trunk, our foundation, what protects our vital organs, probably one of the most important things that we have in our body. And I could also argue that the glutes are extremely important for postural anatomy. We'll touch on that afterwards. But what's so important to understand about the core, and if I get one point across to you today in this video about the core, is understanding what the main purpose of the core is, and the fact that the core is not just your abs, it's not just your six-pack. That goes 360 degrees all the way around the trunk.
So I like to say it's a belt. It's like, you think of like a heavyweight championship belt.
That's right.
That's what it is, but it's your own muscles that do it.
And if you've ever been in the gym, I'm sure you've seen this before. Somebody squatting heavy, deadlifting heavy. You'll notice that they have a back brace, a big belt on, right? They're actually doing that to engage their trunk and their core more because they're not doing it naturally enough on their own. Now, sure, you're going to plateau at a certain point. If you want to keep powerlifting or lifting heavy, you will need that trunk activation belt, that lumbar support belt, and that has its own purpose.
Right.
But when you see people using it before they've plateaued and before they would necessarily need that tool, they're more than likely compensating for a weak core.
Right.
Now, the thing that people misunderstand about the core so much is that it's not a functional mover. The core is not responsible for making sure that our bodies bend and come back up. The purpose of the core is stability. It is to keep the torso upright and actually to protect our spine as well as our vital organs behind us. That way somebody comes up and punches you in the stomach, they're not going to, explode your liver or your spleen or something like that on you. And so what's so important to remember about that when you're training with the core is engaging your core in every single exercise that you do. It doesn't matter if it's a squat, you want to keep your core engaged, or if it's in a deadlift. You want to make sure that you're keeping your core engaged, because if not, you're going to end up compensating with your spine one way or the other if your core isn't tight enough to keep that completely straight and protect your spine. So exercises like a plank, exercises like a dumbbell pullover, even a squat and deadlift will do 100 times more for your core to protect it and strengthen it than a crunch will or an oblique twist or something. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that those exercises aren't important.
Yes.
They are, but they have a different purpose. You always have to train with your goal in mind, right? It doesn't matter what it is in life. If you're learning piano because you want to become a guitarist, it doesn't make any sense. So you want to make sure if you're trying to strengthen your core so that you have better power in your lifts and your posture and that kind of stuff, you want to train it as a stability muscle, meaning a plank will do wonders for you instead of a crunch. But if you're a bodybuilder, if you're ripped, if you're 6% body fat, and you want those abs to pop a little bit more and you want them to be more toned, more defined, more aesthetically pleasing, then that's when we're in crunch and oblique twist zone, because that's actually going to hypertrophy the muscle and make it grow and expand, and it's going to develop and tighten the fibers of the actual rectus abdominis, which is the muscle that includes the abs. But like he said, the core is more like a belt. So you have another muscle in there, the transverse abdominis, which goes all the way around. You have your obliques that protect your side, and even your serratus anterior and posterior that protect your rib cage and keep your ribs in place so that you protect the most vital organs like your lungs, your heart, and all that stuff. So,
and the serratus also helping to keep your shoulder blades in check so they're not, winging off your thorax.
Yeah, well, that's just it. And I'm glad you brought up the scapula too, the shoulder blades, because interesting thing about this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that I'm wrong on this, is that the scapula are the only bones in your body that aren't tethered to the rest of the skeletal system through ligaments and tendons, correct? They float?
Yeah, they are floating.
Oh, there's the other floating bone in your... Yeah.
But you are right about that. There's the hyoid.
The hyoid bone, that's the one. Anytime somebody gets strangled,
you could also
that'll
say
get
the
crushed.
patella too.
Yeah, okay, the patella.
But it is encased in tendon from the quads.
Yeah, exactly.
But
with the scapula,
you're right about that. You need
the serratus and the deltoids and the rhomboids help to keep the scapula in place. So without having strong back muscles to retract your shoulders and come back and have the scapula in proper place, you're never going to do that without muscular strength and balance and that kind of thing, right? And then in that same branch, we could get into length tension relationship of muscles. Most people, going back to the first subject that we talked about with postural anatomy, is that the anterior dominance. Then people have upper cross syndrome, which is anterior rotation like this. So the traps become short and facilitated, the pec major and minor become short and facilitated, and the muscles like the deltoids and the rhomboids and all those muscles that are responsible for pulling the shoulders and the scapula back aren't as strong as this. And think about it like a tug of war. If you're like this, you got 5 people on this side of the rope and you got 1 person on this side of the rope, and unless this guy's the Rock and these are all, scrawny little dudes, you're not going to win that fight.
Yeah, and I'm treating people all the time for upper cross syndrome.
Yeah.
It is unbelievable. People who are sitting at desks all day long.
Yeah.
It's so common, and it's causing headaches, and there's so many things that it.
Well, of course. I mean, tension headaches are one of the first symptoms that you notice from anterior rotation, because what happens is you've got some different nerves that come in here and run through your shoulders and up your neck here. So if you're anteriorly rotated and your traps are extremely tight and facilitated, well, it's going to be pinching those nerves and your levator scap and a bunch of other things that go up into your neck, creating more tension in your neck than is supposed to be there. And eventually that's going to cause things like tension headaches and pressure, lack of circulation to your brain, just a bunch of stuff.
Smushing your spine at the same time, too.
Yep,
so.
Exactly. And that could be it's awful for you, because, again, it's going to limit you so much in life in everything that you want to do, whether it be going golfing. You need proper scapular retraction if you want to be able to get a nice golf swing. And if you don't have that, if you're like this, you're going to have a bad time. It's going to start to hurt. And everybody knows golf is painful enough on its own without having physical ailments to add to it.
Golf is a good example of the core strength.
Yep.
You've got such a torsion moment in your swing that if you don't have the stability here, you can imagine the forces going through, watch this, going through the joints and the disc. It's crazy torsion, and if you don't have that stability, then it's basically a ticking time bomb before you're going to get some kind of injury.
It's very true. And as a golfer myself and somebody who takes golf very seriously, and it's a huge reason why I train, because I always want to enjoy my golf games. I'm only 30 now, but when I'm 80, I want to feel exactly the same way as I do on the course now. Just terrible at golf, but at least at the end I feel like I got a good workout and I'm not in pain. So emotionally I might be, but not physically. So the thing I love about golf, much like the analogy of the car, I like to use golf and golf swings as an analogy for people to understand how their entire body is connected. And if one thing is out of whack, if one thing is out of line, it's going to impact all the way up the kinetic system, the kinetic alignment, right? Chain. So for example, with golfing, it starts at the toes, follows through the hip, and goes through the shoulders, right? If your shoulders are malaligned, if they have a structural balance issue in your shoulders, if you have anterior or posterior rotation in the hips, if you have an inflare in the hips, if you have tight calves, lack of rotation in the glutes, anything like that, it's going to impact your swing somewhere. And at some point, if you start to notice that no matter how straight you try to get your swing, you're still getting a slice, it's still going way off to the right, no matter how much you align yourself, you might have a better time going to see a physiotherapist or a personal trainer than actually going to see a golf coach, because he can instruct you on how to do your swing properly, but if your body doesn't work properly, again, you're going to have a bad time. No matter what that golf coach tells you, you're never going to be able to get in the proper position he's asking you to be in if you don't have proper posture and form.
Nice. So see me, see Devin, and get your core on.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Keep it tight and strong.
There it is. Now, nice segue over to, this is going to be the last segment of blog post.
Ooh.
You got to shock the muscle, and shock the muscle with different
33 interesting gym characters.
Okay.
A celebration of all these different types of people that like to come and work out at any gym that you've ever been to in your life.
So basically we're making fun of funny members that we see in the gym?
No, we're not making fun. We're celebrating. We're celebrating because I'm one of these people and you're one of those people.
That's right. There's a lot of interesting characters in the gym, and it's part of why I love my job.
It's
never a dull day.
Yes, it's very fun. So we only have about 4 left. In the previous podcast, we covered 1 to 30. Now we're into 31 and
So you had 33 in total, and I'm getting the last 4. I get to close it out.
Yeah, you're closing.
Look at that. He saved the best for last.
Exactly. So number 31 is
Okay.
the supplement shaker. Has 3 bottles of supplements for
Yep.
pre, during, and post-workout.
Yep.
Fanny pack optional.
There you go. Well, I'll tell you something interesting that I find about these characters. The most interesting thing I find about, what did you call him, the shaker guy? Is that what it's called?
Supplement shaker.
The supplement shaker guy. Okay. So I say guy because it is more often guys than girls.
There
I'm
are
not trying to be
females.
sexist
Yeah,
against my own
that's
gender,
true.
don't worry.
Yeah.
But the funniest thing that I find about the supplement shaker character is they bring it up on the floor. Right?
Yeah.
They will have their gym bag up on the floor, they're setting up their deadlift bar, they've got their container of creatine, they've got their container of BCAAs, they've got their container of glutamine, they've got their pre-workout, they've got their chalk, they've got everything ready to go there.
Yes.
Now don't get me wrong, I use supplements myself, and like you said, you believe in pre-workout supplements, peri-workout supplements, as well as post-workout supplements.
Sure.
So for an example, like I did a hard training session today myself, and before I took a couple scoops of pre-workout. Thanks, exactly. I got a good pump on, right? It was a few hours ago though, so don't flatter me. So, for example, before a workout, I will take things like electrolytes, branched chain amino acids, sometimes pre-workout if I really want to get a good pump on, if I'm not feeling as energetically or mentally motivated to do that workout. Sometimes a couple of scoops of pre-workout, which will have some caffeine, some arginine, like some vasodilators, that kind of stuff, just to help get blood and oxygen flowing and a little bit more energy in your system, make you a little bit more mentally acute for your workout, that kind of stuff. Intra-workout supplements can be like BCAAs, again, electrolytes can be good to increase your endurance and your ability to keep pushing on through your workout when you don't want to anymore. And of course,
what you're saying is you're the supplement shaker.
I'm one of those, exactly,
All right,
but I keep it to myself, I'm hidden. And then after a workout, post-workout, it can be protein, creatine, things like that, of course, right? But, so although I do believe in using all those supplements, the reason why I say that is because I never want to discredit people that use supplements. They have their purpose.
No, I'm
but,
not.
But it's the characters, yes, for sure.
Or,
and it's funny.
What if you have the supplement shaker who's not really putting in much of a workout at all?
Well, and that's the other point that I was going to get on.
Do you even really need the
100%. I'm glad you touched on that, because one of the things that I like to emphasize, especially when I'm discussing supplements with clients, is what does the word supplementary mean? Right? It means up and above. So if you're already not doing the bare minimal, if you're not eating the right foods, if you're not going to the gym and pushing hard enough past your plateau, if you're not sleeping properly, if you're not resting properly, if you're not doing all of those things properly, and then you're taking supplements, you're kind of putting the cart in front of the horse. Would you not agree?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, those are definitely interesting characters that we see at the gym all the time. They're funny.
Yes. So let's go to the number 32, the technique giver.
Ooh, the technique giver. I like
Likes
it.
to give
the personal trainer that's not a personal trainer.
Likes to give
Gotcha.
advice to others regarding training techniques, which most appreciate.
Yeah.
The weakness lies in the fact that they can't discern when someone isn't interested in their Romanian deadlift procedure.
Okay, so I find that point really interesting, for example, because going back to my past as a journalist, like I was mentioning, very important point of journalism is always consider the source. Mm-hmm. If you're a chiropractor and you're giving me advice about music, I might go, does he even play music? He's a chiropractor. Or if
Which
a
I
musician,
do,
he does, exactly. So that might have been a bad example, but exactly. If he's a chiropractor and he's giving me advice about my prostate, then I might be a little bit more confused because he's not a proctologist or anything like that. But
even though I'm a specialist with prostates, but no.
Exactly.
Just
Are
kidding.
you?
No.
Okay, good. So I was going to say,
Definitely
if not, like I said,
No.
I'm pushing into my 30s. We might have to do a prostate exam as well here too.
It won't be here.
Okay, good.
Go on.
Perfect. Aw. Thought that was a value-added service that you offered.
At the end of the podcast, we can put it on video.
Stay tuned to the end. So, it's just kind of funny, right? So, if somebody has received professional coaching in the past, or they clearly do have good form and they're giving advice, I never have a problem with that.
Fine.
That's good.
Totally fine.
But what's really messed up is when you see somebody giving somebody
The
advice
wrong
on form and they're
advice.
giving them completely wrong
That's
advice.
what I'm talking
Now,
about.
touch on what were you saying about the Romanian deadlift again?
Oh, I was just saying when someone isn't interested,
Yeah.
so, someone's kind of making it clear that they they're good with their technique. They don't,
Yeah.
but then the person just continues kind of beating.
That's extremely frustrating,
you know?
because first of all, that's just an ego trip for the person that's trying to give the advice. They're sitting there trying to poise themselves as the alpha, and they're trying to make the other person beta, and that's just a weird situation in the gym, and it does happen. One thing that I love about Good Life Fitness is we have a saying here at Good Life Fitness. It's everybody is welcome, in the sense that anybody can come here, but bad form is going to hurt you. It's going to lead to injury no matter what, and you're also not going to be targeting the muscle groups that you actually want to target with the exercise, so it is extremely important to make sure you are doing things with proper form and technique. So if I approach you on the floor in the gym, I'm only doing it out of benevolence because I want to help you and I want to show you proper technique to make sure, A, the time that you're spending in the gym isn't wasted, that the exercise that you're doing is getting the results that you want. But more importantly, like I said from the beginning of this podcast, is that my most important concern in the gym is that people are improving their quality of life outside of the gym and long-term injury prevention, right? And to touch directly to the point of this, there's varying schools of thought on what's the most important thing to do in your gym. You have your people that are like, I only believe in HIIT training, HIIT, high intensity interval training. That's the way to do it. You go in, you get your heart rate up, you get a sweat on, you're burning calories. It's just, you feel crazy after. It's so good. It's amazing. I love those workouts too. Then you got your power lifters. No, just 3 to 5 reps, 1 rep max is just pushing as much weight as you possibly can. Trains you, it's just tenacity, it's mental prowess, it's physical prowess, it's the most that matters. And then some people believe the most in building, hypertrophy, muscle building, and that's all they stick to. Now, every one of these has validity and they're all important. But what I find really messed up about the technique giver that you're talking about is when there's the guy in the back of the gym deadlifting 500 pounds and he's going around talking to everybody about why everybody should be deadlifting 500 pounds and that's the most important thing, and I only believe in powerlifting, that's the most important thing everybody should be doing. Or it's just that, A, there is a million ways to approach fitness, and the same approach isn't going to work for every single person. So don't put your shit on other people if that's how you feel. Give people honest advice when they want it, and approach people with a friendly nature in the gym. If you know what you're doing, you see somebody squatting with bad form, and you want to help them, you're actually a great person. You're a good Samaritan, and that's awesome. But make sure you do it with the proper intention. Make sure you don't approach that person trying to, A, solicit them to sell some services. That's not the reason that you want to approach somebody on the floor. B, make sure that you're giving them the right advice. So, you know, if somebody's at the bottom of a squat and their lower back is rounding, they'll say, you want to round that more, really engage your back. Obviously, it's terrible advice. And also, you want to make sure that the person is receptive to the information that you're giving
That's
them.
what I was going to say.
You can't help those that don't want to be helped.
You can approach
and it's the sad part about my
say,
industry, yours too.
You can, you know, smile at them, say, hey, are you okay if I just gave you a little tip on your technique there? And, you know, like, everything looks good. There's just one little thing that, you know, maybe you should change. And,
Exactly.
Okay.
And obviously, choose the language that you use carefully.
Yeah.
Just be like, the way you're doing that is stupid. This is how you do it right. Yeah, exactly. You don't want to do that. So you want to make sure that you're always trying to help the person and be encouraging and motivating. Because at the end of the day, that person got off their ass and got to the gym. So they're at least doing something right.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'm not against giving technique at all. I definitely give people technique.
I sure hope so.
Tips every now and then. So, all right, last one, and then I might also add another, which someone added to my...
I like surprises.
Yeah, so this one is a little out there, I'm going to warn you. It's called the Porcelain Basket Weaver.
The Porcelain Basket Weaver, okay.
Yes.
You're going to have to explain that one to me.
Piles a shitload, pun intended, of toilet paper on the seat to protect them from other members' germs. They don't clean up their paper project either, leaving a mixture of dry and wet toilet paper for the next person to clean up.
Well, I'd probably change toilet paper to paper towel, but that does happen a lot, and even with towels as well too. First things first, do have proper gym etiquette. Like, I'm not going to say that you should expect to never touch somebody else's sweat if you're in a public retail gym. At the end of the day, especially at this location, we have a capacity of 600 people that can be in the gym at the same time. We're all sharing equipment, working in with each other between sets. So you might get somebody else's sweat on you. 2 pieces of advice: shower after your workout and don't wear the same clothes for 2 different workouts. Make sure you're washing your clothes. It's personal hygiene. But at the same time, you want to make sure that, you know, if you get up off of the bench and there's a bunch of ass sweat on there, make sure you wipe it up and take care of it. Or also make sure that, you know, you're not leaving a giant mess for somebody else, like he said.
Like because in the toilet, for instance.
Oh, 100%. Are we talking about directly downstairs in the change room, or are we talking about upstairs on the gym floor?
Oh, this one, the Porcelain Basket Weaver.
Okay.
That's toilet specific.
Oh.
So that's where they pile the toilet paper around.
Well, because we don't provide paper ass gaskets.
That's the best term I've heard today.
Right? I stole it from a movie. I
Yes.
can't remember exactly which one.
Nice.
Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, the movie I stole it from is Deuce Bigalow Male Gigolo.
Oh, nice.
Because that guy keeps talking about the little red bumps that he's got going on his junk, and he keeps wanting Deuce Bigalow to look at it. And he's like, I went into the toilet and there's a little bit of splashback because they didn't have one of those, paper ass gaskets.
Nice.
Anyways, for reference, that's where I got it from. I don't want to claim it as my own.
A gasket. Okay.
Yeah, but to address that specifically, there's a lot of weird human behavior that you will see in a gym change room. Just avert your eyes.
Yes. So you're going to want to go
Don't
back.
be one of them.
You're going to want to go back in the archives too and look up the naked person in the change room and a couple others.
Or what I like to call the flosser.
Yes. Oh, gee. Big visual on that one. All right. I'm going to just throw one more in that I had forgotten about when I did this original article. The slow air leak.
Okay.
Okay?
I know exactly what you're talking about. Absolutely useless. Absolutely useless. So, to address the importance of what they're doing, first of all, you start off. Tell me what the point is that you're going to be, and then I'll address it.
No, I want you to jump in.
Okay, cool. Okay, you like how passionate I was about it and stuff like that. I've had clients that have done it, and I've made fun of them, so don't worry, I'm not being two-faced here. But the funny thing about this slow air leak, if somebody's, for example, doing a squat or a bench press, and they're going... Is it going to help you engage your core more? Yes. So it's not completely wrong. It's a lot better than not breathing at all while you're doing your exercise.
Don't hold your breath.
The thing is that when you're doing that, you're trying to tighten your abdominals and your core as much as possible by taking air out of it. If you're inflated like a balloon because you've taken in a bunch of air and then you're trying to push your squat or bench press, you're going to have a bad time. It's not going to work. So you want to expel that air as fast as possible to tighten your core as fast as possible and as tightly as possible, because you want to explode on that exercise. When you come down with your bench press, you're breathing in 1, 2, 3, or because you want to expel that air as quickly and as fast as possible to tighten your abdominals as fast as possible. So that's why I don't believe in the slow air leak. It's because it's not having the desired effect that exhalation at the concentric motion of the exercise is supposed to have.
Nice. Yeah, and breathing is important, and someone like Devin can definitely give you that proper instruction on when you are lifting, because a lot of people don't know when should I exhale, when should I inhale. So do you want to explain
Very
that?
quickly.
I know you said the concentric, but some people might not know what you're talking about, so maybe show an actual exercise.
I definitely will. Okay, so let's say, because I don't want to squat and get out of frame here and stuff like that, let's go again with the bench press, okay? So imagine I'm laying flat on a bench and you're not seeing me stand up right now. So proper breathing technique is always that you want to breathe in on the eccentric, which is going to be the slow descent of the weight, and then you want to exhale on the concentric motion, which is the fast push or the effort. Now that's going to change if it's a pushing exercise or a pulling exercise, so I'll cover both. So say it's a bench press, you want to breathe in while you're lowering the weight, you want to oxygenate your muscles, breathe into them effectively, and then breathe as fast as you can to tighten your core and expel that weight away from you, push that weight away from you. Now if you're doing a pulling exercise, it's always going to be whenever you're pushing or pulling the weight that you want to exhale on that concentric motion, and then you want to breathe in slowly as you're doing your eccentric motion, which is the slow return of the weight. Right. So take a seated row, you're going to exhale when you pull the weight, and then you're going to breathe in slowly as you return the weight back to starting position, keeping your shoulders retracted, of course. We don't want our shoulders to protract because that's going to go back into the previous issues we discussed earlier.
Nice. Yeah, I usually instruct people, generally speaking, as a general rule, the harder part of the motion is where you'll exhale.
Yeah, I say upon effort.
Yeah.
When you're putting in the effort, that's when you want to exhale.
Cool.
For sure. That's
All
awesome.
right. So we're going to segue over to Dr. Stefan from Botswana, my chiropractor friend, worldspinecare.org.
Ooh, cool.
And he has sent me a deep thought here. It's a very quick one today.
Okay.
And I have to say, I already knew this,
Stefan,
but thank you for sharing this because a lot of people don't know this.
Yeah.
He says, "Hey, Dr. Jory, did you know the vitamin D content of bacon is much higher if the pig lived outside under the sun?"
Makes sense.
Makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, I agree. A lot of people don't know that, and unfortunately, in the industrialized farm situation that we're in, a lot of animals are unethically, kept indoors all day in pens and things, and they're not getting sunlight. So those meats, if you eat meat and you're eating those meats, they're just not as nutritionally good for us.
True.
Not even talking about the hormones and all the other stuff that's going on there.
Just touching on, raising captivity versus free range, right?
Exactly.
It's 100% true. So just like we as humans are what we eat, so are the animals that we eat and consume ourselves, right? Just like we are a byproduct of our environments, our lifestyles, and our repeated habits, the animals that we consume are going to be exactly the same. Now, if you're a vegan or vegetarian and stuff like that, you can tune out for this section. But for example, so touching on the point that he just touched on, a pig will have any meat from the pig, whether it be ham or bacon or pork or any of that, will have a higher content of vitamin D, because if it has not been held in captivity and it's been out, it's going to be taking in more sunlight throughout its entire existence before it gets slaughtered.
Absolutely.
But exactly, so just like a grass-fed cow who's out free range, out in the pasture eating grass, is going to have
it should be.
Exactly, it's going to have a higher content of nutrients, omega-3s, B12, those kind of things, because of the fact that it's getting the proper nutrients that it needs. So if you just go and buy a conventionally raised steak from the grocery store, it's not going to have as many of those great nutrients that we want compared to a grass-fed beef steak, or whether it be butter or cream that you're getting or anything like that as well too. So that is
you do have to pay for quality, but I tell people just eat less meat, but when you do eat it, eat the high quality.
I swear to God, Jory, that's the best point that you could have made. It applies to anything in life. Always consider quality over quantity.
Exactly.
Yep.
All right, now another good segue, I guess, and I hate to use McDonald's as an example, but normally I do these health rants in my podcast, so this time I'm just going to call it rant.
Okay.
Rant. Normally it's a health rant, and this could be a health rant indirectly, but I'm going to use McDonald's as an example because there is one right next door to us, and I do go there for tea sometimes, and
decent cheap coffee.
Every now and then I'm
no sugar in your coffee.
Yeah, and I do use reusable things when I go get my tea.
I do half the time.
But we can't be perfect, right?
I try.
We try and do our part. But sometimes I am craving a cookie or a muffin. I've been going more
or a cheeseburger
lately. Yeah, definitely cheeseburger sometimes. And what I'll do is when I go, let's say I order a cookie. I'll be like, can I get a cookie, please? No bag. First of all, they look at me like,
you're a crazy person.
Why don't you want a bag for your cookie?
I was trained that the cookie goes in a bag and must follow procedure.
Error.
Cannot compute.
Error. Yeah. So anyway, that throws them off all the time. And sometimes they'll even be like, pardon? Like, no bag. I don't need a bag. Oh, okay. So here's what'll happen. So I'll go, no bag. And then they're like, all right. And then they go, they're just in robotic mode.
Creatures of habit.
So they grab a bag and they go to, I'm like, no. I don't want a bag. And then they're like, oh, yeah, my mistake, sorry.
Throw the bag in the garbage.
I'm like, oh. Like, you just, what? That is the whole point here. Like, I didn't want to waste paper on my cookie.
It's so true.
But then you just made it even worse. Like, what are you doing?
It is really frustrating. And because much like we were just talking about the animal's health and life health, like the earth has a certain health too, and we need to be conscious and cognitive of that as well too.
That's right. And what is this made of?
Yeah, that's made of trees, and we need to protect trees, you know what I mean? And that's so important. And it's kind of the same thing, like I'll joke around with some of the trainers I work with when they always print their programs off on paper. I'm like, you could be using an iPad or an iPhone or have those files digitally, keep them in a cloud service, that kind of thing. Or use your noggin to remember some of these things as well too. But I do try to be eco-conservative as possible, and there are many things, especially here in the gym, health and fitness industry, where we see a lot of that of. For example, having a reusable water bottle at the gym. Make sure you're not the type of guy that comes in here and buys a bottle of Aquafina every single time that you're here, or
it's very wasteful.
It is. It's extremely wasteful, and in such a consumerist, society and a capitalist society that we have, we do live in a disposable generation where people just want to dispose of things and replace things, and I can be guilty of it too. Don't get me wrong.
Sure, we all
can. Some new shoes today.
I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect either.
Yeah.
When you think of, like, you probably heard stats before, how many of the paper coffee cups a day
Yeah.
are used in North America. Like, it's sickening, right?
Yeah, it is. And I am guilty of using non-reusable coffee cups
We all
sometimes
do.
when I
do
don't wash
as
mine
well.
or plan
Sure.
it. Yeah.
Everyone does it. I'm just
Yeah.
saying more people need to be aware of that.
I agree.
And then one other example I was going to give of that is you'll see people where they'll be like, can I get a cheeseburger? They put it in the bag, and the person takes the bag, and then they walk one step, they take the cheeseburger out, and then they throw the bag in the garbage. So you had the bag for a total of 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, what was the point of even having the bag?
Now, so one of those things is it's kind of a placebo effect where people justify this action to themselves, because I'm going to give this person that you're talking about hypothetically the benefit of the doubt and assume that they're putting it into the recycling bin. But don't convince yourself that recycling all the time is not detrimental to the earth as well. Because yes, it's less detrimental to the earth than just pure waste and throwing in a landfill or garbage stuff. But recycling does still have a significant impact on the environment and air pollution and different things like that. There are chemical processes in a recycling plant. A recycling plant does require a lot of energy. And, you know, the remanufacturing production of these products that we're overusing and justifying because they're recyclable, then the manufacturing process of that then puts more pollutants and toxins into the air as well, too. So inform yourself. Be conscious of the decisions that you're making because they impact this earth. And just like you want to be conscious of the decisions that you make that impact your body and your own personal health, we have to think the same way for the animals that we live with, and we have to think about the same way for the planet. Like the body being all connected, we're all connected to earth, planet, animal, everything like that. And we need to have mutual respect for everything, including ourselves.
Well said. I like that.
Boom!
But bam! That was good.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to wrap this up with one final little segment. It's a new segment that I've been meaning to do, and I just keep forgetting to do it. But it's something very close to me. I'm very passionate about music.
Yeah.
And I asked you to choose a CD.
Yes.
Because I'm old school, and I have some CDs. Over
now we had a limited collection I was supposed to choose from,
it's pretty limited.
I still would have chosen this one. It's very good.
So I basically said, pick a CD. There's maybe 50 of them there.
Yeah.
I had to cull the flock many years ago.
Yeah.
Throw out a bunch, and and I kept just a few of them.
Yeah.
And he chose one of them. And I want you to talk about why did you choose this one and what is it?
Okay. Well, I chose Nirvana's Nevermind. It's a classic album, and a couple of reasons. I grew up in the 90s in the grunge era, and grunge music, punk rock music had a huge impact on my life, obviously.
Myself as well, as you can imagine.
And one of the things that I loved about grunge and punk rock music, they were singing with purpose. They were singing with passion. And even if you can't stomach the music, even if you don't like it, if you went and read the lyrics that Kurt Cobain wrote for a lot of these songs and what Kurt Cobain was singing about and what drove him to write a lot of the lyrics in the songs that he wrote, you would see that there was a lot of environmental influences, there's a lot of social influences, there's a lot of political influences and personal influences from the way that he was raised. And I find this album very interesting. I find it, first of all, it rocks. Like, even if you just listen to it, you don't take any of the socio-political. Yeah, it's an amazing CD. If you're in here doing an arm day, this will get you right going. Like, Smells Like Teen Spirit, amazing song.
In Bloom.
Yeah, In Bloom, Come As You Are. There's so many good songs on this album. And in all honesty, there's just so many different things. Like Lithium, an amazing song as well, too.
So good.
Polly. There's just every single song is lounge act.
Any of our young viewers,
Yeah.
you got to go back in the crates and check some of this stuff out. This is killer.
And a lot of people don't know that they had more than one album. You have to check out Incesticide from before this.
Yes.
Is that what it was called?
Incesticide was one of the first. There was Bleach,
and then there was
Incesticide,
and then Nevermind.
Yes.
Now this is the quintessential Nirvana album that everybody needs to know. If you only listen to one Nirvana album, this is the one that you need to.
One.
But and Kurt Cobain himself. I like to go into deep dives in the artists that I listen to in that, and we both know that the suicide of Kurt Cobain and just his life and his angst and his hatred for fame, even though all he ever wanted to do was be a pragmatic musician. I don't want to say a popular musician, because that's the opposite of what he wanted. He wanted to make amazing music, but then he got upset that a lot of people wanted to listen to it. Yeah. So he's very, very enigmatic and interesting to find out, and learning about the inner workings of somebody like Kurt Cobain literally helps me maybe understand my clients and people around me better sometimes when I figure out somebody's special.
He had a very tough childhood,
he did.
too. Very tough. What about other bands in that, Seattle sound? Are you into anything?
Yeah, I was into some of the Seattle sound, the West Coast. I was also into a lot of British pop and punk rock. Like, I was a huge fan of The Clash. I was a huge fan of the Ramones.
Right.
I was a huge fan, and just obviously I listen to some Courtney Love, but I haven't listened to too much of it. And some other people from more Philadelphia, Pennsylvania as well too. There was a very, very strong political punk rock scene from there. People like Anti-Flag and Pennywise and Propaganda, different things like that.
How important is music to you while you're working out?
Oh, that's an important subject to do. It's ironic, some people can't listen to music while they work out because they say it distracts them and they can't focus. I literally can't focus on my workout without having music. I'm very, very energetic and my mind wanders a lot, and if I'm not listening to music, I find it hard to zone into my workout and not be distracted by my surroundings and the ambient noise in the gym, especially at a busy gym like we work at this location. Right. Music is so important to me, and I have Spotify, which is amazing. Free plug, we're not sponsored, but Spotify is an amazing service. I have a variety of different playlists that I use for different exercises.
Depending on
for my arm day, I love hip hop. All I listen to is the old school hip hop. I've got Biggie, Ludacris, Too Short,
90s hip hop.
Yeah, lots of stuff like that. Tupac, different things, because I just love when you're doing arms fast is the worst thing that you can do. You just want to get them nice and slow, engage it as much as possible, and go down nice and slow. And the smooth fat beats of hip hop from the 90s just really get me in the zone for that.
So good.
But for cardio, I like progressive music.
Yeah.
I'm listening to Muse, Iron Maiden, or House, or it can be progressive metal or progressive house. Anything that's got
Tool.
Yeah, Tool. I love Tool. I love Nine Inch Nails. I love anything because they have slow progressions, climactic hooks. Yeah. Comes back down, then there's a breakdown, a bridge. Too. That's exactly what I'm saying. So if I'm doing cardio, that's why I like it, because the music will actually set my intervals. Yeah. So I don't need to do anything, and then you're peaking during that guitar solo. Right? And then, when I'm doing hypertrophy, I love metal because I just want to get angry at those weights and just push them.
I like angry music when I want to lift heavy. I want some angry music.
Yeah, it'll really activate your CNS and get you going, get you fired up, and I like it.
When I went to University of Guelph, I worked in the weight room there.
Okay.
And showing my age here, but I would make mixtapes.
I think your gray hair is showing your age.
Yeah, that too. I would put on mixtapes, and it would be all heavy shit, and people would always come up and like, man, I love the music that you play here. It just gets me pumped. Now, obviously, it's not going to work for everyone.
Yeah, I'm just hey, I love Bruno Mars and I love Ariana Grande. They got some good pop songs, but no, it just does not get me in the zone. 24K Magic isn't getting me lifting, and neither is, like we're saying, some T-Swift or something like that. It's just not going to get me in the zone no matter what, right? But Katy Perry will every time. Firework?
Yes. Good one.
That'll always get me motivated for my workout. But I'll usually listen to that while I'm stretching and warming up to really get me in the zone. I love it.
All right. Devin, can you give our viewers, our listeners, a tip for their health? Could be working out, could be nutrition, anything, just something maybe that's not everyone always says.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to give you guys a very generalized piece of advice when it comes to healthy nutrition. And I feel like I've talked a lot about exercises already in this podcast, so I'm going to step away from that, and I'm going to go into the nutrition side of things as a certified nutritionist myself through Precision Nutrition.
Nice.
Just eat healthy, real food. And what I mean by that is I'm going to use the word organic, but I mean it in the literal context of it, not certified organic. I mean something that used to be alive, organic, real. I'm talking about real fruits, real vegetables, real starches like potatoes and rice instead of bread, and real meat, and again, ethically sourced as much as possible. Cost permitting, don't put yourself in the poorhouse to buy grass-fed steaks at twice the price. I understand it is tough, but so here's the piece of advice.
Things that aren't processed.
Yes, not processed, not frozen, not full of preservatives, not full of toxins, not in a prepackaged box, okay? So think about your grocery store, and I'm going to tell you some truth right now that a lot of people don't know. I've told people and they go, yeah, that's obvious. Or I tell people and they go, wow, you just blew my mind, okay? Shop on the outside horseshoe of the grocery store. And there's a very important reason for this. Organic, real food does not have a very long shelf life. How many times have you bought a banana or some apples or a steak and it goes bad in 3 days in your fridge because you haven't eaten it? Unfortunately, real food has a very, very short expiry date, okay? So if you go to the outside of your grocery store, you're going to notice that that's where the refrigerated foods are, the frozen foods are. So we're talking about, it will always start with produce, then you're going to work your way through dairy, then you're going to come around to frozen foods, then you're going to come around to meats, okay? Now, I suggest you skip the frozen food section unless because a lot of that food will be pre-prepared, have preservatives in it, have unhealthy toxins in it, and additives that you just don't want to eat, okay? So, but if you're buying plain frozen chicken breast and you've read the ingredients and there's no additives, if you're buying a bag of frozen vegetables or fruit that have been individually quick frozen and don't have additives in them, you're okay. I buy frozen fruit all the time because honestly cutting fresh fruit is a pain in the ass and I really like healthy smoothies at home, but I'll buy pre-chopped frozen mangoes and that's not a bad thing. Organic if I can, always, but again, to eliminate additives. But yeah, and then you get yourself to the healthy meat section and then you're right back at the cash. You never need to go up and down the aisles of a grocery store. No matter what, that's where you're going to get preserved foods, you're going to get chips, you're going to get pop, sugar, refined flour. That's all you're going to find up and down those aisles. Corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup, the good shit. No, so just stay out of the aisles up and down your grocery store. If you start shopping that way and eating that way, you will notice a very remarkable difference in how you grocery shop, how you eat, and the contents of your fridge moving forward, and you'll be a lot better for it.
Love it. Such a good tip. I love that outer horseshoe idea because you can
It's so simple.
You just stick on the periphery.
Anybody can understand that.
Good advice. Now, anyone who wants to contact you, what should they do?
Well, you can follow me at different places. I'm on Twitter at Devin Size. I'm on Instagram at Size Matters Fitness. That's my brand. Size, my last name, S-I-Z-E. Or you can always contact me here at Good Life Fitness at devin.size@goodlifefitness.com. I'm always willing to meet with people to do a free consultation, give advice, talk about training regimes, and it doesn't matter what level of fitness you're at. If you've been working out for 10 years and you're looking for a change in your routine or you want to fix something that you've always been doing wrong, or if you're somebody completely nascent to the gym and you've never been in here and you've never done a thing in your life, either way, come see me, and no matter what, I'll be able to help you.
Awesome. All right, well, if you enjoyed the show, please smash that like button, subscribe, and until next time, get your health on. Boom! All right.
Baked potato and fries. That's cool. That was awesome.